we have a chance to choose a better future for our country.
Kamala Harris speaks to the nation for the first time as Joe Biden's running mate, his glowing words for his new political partner. Plus, after weeks of maskless crowds, the change you can expect tonight at the Ocean Beach Farmers Market. And check your credit cards, the millions of people unknowingly having their credit limits slashed.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
We are getting our first look at the newly minted Democratic presidential ticket. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Atkinson in for Kimberly Hunt. In just the last couple of hours, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris appeared together for the first time since he named her as his running mate. They had glowing words for each other and wasted no time going after President Trump.
The choice we make this November is going to decide the future of America for a very, very long time. And I had a great choice, great opportunities. I had a great choice, but I have no doubt that I picked the right person to join me as the next Vice President of the United States of America, and that's Senator Kamala Harris.
Because of Trump's failures of leadership, our economy has taken one of the biggest hits out of all the major industrialized nations, with an unemployment rate that has tripled as of today. This is what happens when we elect a guy who just isn't up for the job.
Their nomination will become official at the Democratic National Convention coming up next week. Now, if Joe Biden wins, California will need a new senator to replace Kamala Harris. That task will fall upon Governor Gavin Newsom. When asked about that today, he said he has until the end of January to make that decision, and it's not even on his radar right now.
Absolutely focused on bending this curve, mitigating the spread of this disease, getting our economy moving again, getting people back to work, getting our kids, including, dare I say selfishly, my kids, back to school.
Names already being floated as possible contenders to replace Harris include Secretary of State Alex Padilla, Attorney General Javier Becerra, and Congresswoman Karen Bass. And speaking of the coronavirus, the city of San Diego is stepping up enforcement for tonight's farmers market in Ocean Beach. For weeks, there have been large crowds of people not wearing masks. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Dela Cruz is live with a look at what tonight will look like and how different it will be. Jen.
Hey, Steve, and we want to make the distinction. It's not the farmers market that's the problem. It's the crowds that trickle over here to Veterans Park. As of right now, as you can see, not a ton of people out here, and everyone who is here is distancing themselves. However, overall, we haven't seen a lot of people wearing masks out here in the Ocean Beach area in general. However, we did see two officers walking by. They have gloves on and they are handing out masks to anybody who doesn't have one. So still early on here tonight, and only time will tell what happens when the farmers market is over. A compliance team from the city of San Diego set to monitor the weekly Wednesday farmers market in Ocean Beach. They're hoping extra enforcement will prevent this scene from last week. Crowds gathering close together well into the night, most of them not wearing masks. At a press conference Tuesday, Councilmember Jennifer Campbell's office took part in putting a fence up around Veterans Park where that gathering takes place, but it was torn down by two men shortly after. As of Wednesday afternoon, there was no fence set up around the park just hours before the farmers market began. After ongoing pressure from residents in the area, the city is now setting up a compliance team to help educate anyone who is violating the county public health order. The team will consist of 12 people from the city and a few others from the county. City workers include parking enforcement, park rangers, and administrative staff. Corey Bruins with the OB Town Council says they're looking forward to seeing how the added enforcement will work Wednesday night.
We did not see anybody from the city and the county out the past number of Wednesdays during the day doing any education. I've heard some folks from the city say at this point, if you need to be educated on a pandemic, we've already lost.
The OB Town Council says they've also seen unpermitted food vendors in recent weeks. They believe the crowds are due in part to a drum circle that sets up at Veterans Park after the farmers market. The gatherings have also resulted in a surge in trash piled throughout the area, with more than 6,000 gallons cleaned up in just 8 weeks. So once again, we already have seen some members of that compliance team out here wearing gloves, giving out masks to anybody who doesn't have one. The fine for violating the public health order here is a $1,000 ticket, and I asked how long they plan on having that compliance team out here, if it's going to continue for the next few weeks. They say only time will tell, and they'll decide if they need to keep having that team out here over the next few weeks. Reporting live in Ocean Beach, Jennifer Dela Cruz, 10 News.
We will see if it works. Jen, thank you. And we are also eagerly awaiting today's coronavirus case numbers from the county. There were fewer than 200 yesterday, and we could be on a trajectory to get off the state's monitoring list. That would open up the possibility of some reopenings as well. We're going to break down exactly how that works coming up on ABC 10 News at 5. In the meantime, San Diego County now has its first case of West Nile virus this year. A 61-year-old Alpine man is believed to have contracted that virus during a trip to Yuma. County Health says he spent time in the hospital and has now recovered. There were only 3 human cases of West Nile virus in San Diego County last year and 2 in 2018. West Nile is transmitted to people through infected mosquitoes. Right now, police are looking for 2 men who led them on a high-speed chase this afternoon. It went from El Cajon Boulevard all the way to San Marcos, where the men then jumped out of the car at Solarview Lane. Police tried to pull that car over for speeding, but the driver refused to stop and hit speeds around 100 miles an hour during the chase.
Well, it's not just a vaccine that could help us turn the corner. There are very promising antibody drugs in development. Some are close to being available, according to top U.S. health officials. Regeneron and Eli Lilly, they're companies that are testing and making antibody drugs. They do work faster than a vaccine, however, they don't last as long. Now, experts say they could work for people who are in high-risk situations. There's a new approach to stopping the spread of the virus, according to UC San Francisco scientists. The lab-made molecules are called aeronabs, and they stop the part of the virus that attacks human cells. Scientists say that they're in clinical testing and manufacturing talks. The product could be sold over the counter for as a nasal spray or an inhaler. Now, FDA-approved companies that help deliver fast COVID test results are struggling to keep up with demand. You think of where people are really buying these, and it's nursing homes and doctors' offices that really rely on them, and then you have the federal government that buys a lot, and it's difficult for them to keep up. Some smaller medical practices also told the Wall Street Journal they can't afford the agreements to get the products.
The search for the person who killed a security guard in Spring Valley is now intensifying. 59-year-old Kenneth Love was shot to death outside a pot dispensary on Troy Street back on June 2nd. Several people were seen leaving the area, but investigators don't have any descriptions. Love's family is now adding $3,000 to the reward, leading to an arrest, raising the total reward now to $4,000. You're asked to call the Sheriff's Department or Crime Stoppers if you know anything. And there are heartbreaking new details on Monday's house fire in La Jolla that killed a man and his granddaughter. The medical examiner says 80-year-old Robert Keefe's son put a kerosene-soaked shirt in the fireplace and then fell asleep. It ended up catching the house on fire. The son's 11-year-old daughter jumped from the second floor into his arms, but his other daughter, 9-year-old Angie Keefe, is autistic and she stayed in bed. She died, as did Robert Keefe, who could not get out.
A new study suggests that kids spread COVID-19 more efficiently than adults. There's some big news when it comes to sending kids back to school, and Dan Grossman is showing how this could affect that decision.
If there's one definitive answer about this pandemic, it's this.
Information is still incomplete.
Even Dr. Kwang Sik Kim doesn't have most of them, and he's the director of pediatric infectious disease at Johns Hopkins University Hospital.
Again, this is a very complex issue involving not just virus, everything else.
Lately, Kim has been trying to answer questions about a new study out of Chicago that says mild to moderately symptomatic children under the age of 6 have 10 to 100 times the concentration of COVID-19 in their throats as adults. Considering the questions so many school districts are grappling with at the moment, he says it could be concerning.
We don't have any real data to indicate to schools what they should do, what is the best recipe they need to follow.
Consider the variables involved. Kids can be impulsive, touch-oriented, and contact numerous people in their journey to and from school. If they are indeed more potent carriers, it amplifies risk.
Don't think about opening the school until the infection rate is under control.
Amplifies it past the level Lily Eskelsen Garcia, president of the National Education Association, is comfortable with.
If you open a school before you get the infection rate under control, you will turn that school into the community's super spreader.
The NEA suggests only opening schools once the community infection rate is less than 5%. Same with the CDC and World Health Organization. That number currently sits near 8% nationwide. Even when schools do reopen, extra safety measures will still need to be enforced.
Make a decision for today, based on data available today, and then act differently when you have data tomorrow. I think that's to me, it's the right approach.
The study says young children will be important for targeting immunization efforts once a vaccine becomes available, while Dr. Kim says patience and flexibility is the way forward.
People really need to step back and then, again, cognizant of the fact that we do not have complete information.
I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
Dan, thank you. The extra unemployment help President Trump promised will likely be around $300. President Trump's executive order claimed it would provide an additional $400 a week to those who are unemployed. White House officials say states will not be required to add on to their existing benefit programs.